What's going on, y'all? Hope you all had a fantastic Christmas. Although the Oklahoma City Thunder lost to the Spurs, I'm here to help maybe ease your overreactions or, well, hopefully ease other people's overreactions a little bit. Because, oh, how does so much change in 12 days, especially a narrative where just 2 weeks ago, you would have heard the national media across the NBA landscape talk about how great the Thunder were, how they were a defensively, historically dominant team, how this was a team that was going to go out there and break the 73-9 win record from the Golden State Warriors. But now the Thunder are sitting at 26-5, where 2 weeks ago they were at 23-2. I think it was 23-2 or something like that. Pretty 23, 24-2. And now they're only up 2.5 games over the Spurs for the number one seed in the West. And now the Spurs are going to hold that tiebreaker over the Oklahoma City Thunder all season long, even if they go out there and win the next 2 games. So I think it is crucially important here to break down what has happened to Oklahoma City over these past 3 games, especially on Christmas Day at home, where the Oklahoma City Thunder have been really dominant all year. And then talk about why I'm really not worried yet. I think a lot of people are ready to hit the panic button. I've even seen some, hey, maybe we need to go ahead and trade Chet for Giannis talks, which I don't think those will ever die as long as Giannis is potentially on the trade market. But I don't think it's time for fans to panic yet. I think there's still a lot of things that are developing for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it's still really early in the season. Like that 73-9 record is still in reach. Obviously, you just can't be losing any more games anytime soon. So let's kind of unfold it and let's talk about this Christmas Day game, because Oklahoma City lost 117-102. You know, that Spurs, they jumped out early and they never really looked back. You saw them shoot over 53% from the field all night. And De'Aaron Fox, he set the tone early. He ended the game by leading all scorers with 29 points. And Wembanyama, being a guy on a minute restriction, I think he's coming off like 20, 25 points, something like that for his minute restriction. He's chipped in 19 points and 11 boards. So he's made a huge impact off the bench. And quite frankly, for the Spurs, if this continues to work, do you change Wemby coming into the starting lineup or bringing him off the bench? It feels like if this continues to work, you might just continue to roll with what looks good, as crazy as it sounds. But I feel like maybe the Thunder probably should have did something similar. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Stephon Castle, right? I think this is everybody that the Spurs would hope he would have been with, his 19 points, 7 assists. He keeps the defense honest. And he's going to be a really good player for the Spurs over time. And a lot of teams would love to have him on there. And then Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein, delivered solid double-doubles, but it's just not quite enough from the big men, especially, defending Victor Wembanyama and keeping him honest against your defense and, the offense. But what do these 3 losses to the Spurs mean to the Oklahoma City Thunder? And should Thunder fans really panic, right? This is where I'm saying I think context matters, because these aren't random losses. And the Spurs, they're playing elite basketball, right? They're playing really good basketball. They're riding a multi-game win streak, especially over the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I think that means something to them, right? Where I think the Oklahoma City Thunder, the first 2 games, losing to the Spurs, it's like, okay, we'll eventually figure it out. Beating the Thunder for as young of a young team as the Spurs are, I think this matters to them. It fuels them. It would be no different than the Oklahoma City Thunder last year getting a 3-game win streak over the defending champions the year prior, right? I think that's kind of what, the context looks like here. And so right now, like, the Thunder still have the number 1 seed in the West, and you saw Shea kind of talk about it. Like, I don't think Shea's taking this as a undervalued or an understatement here. Like, he's saying, hey, like, they're just better than us. Then you don't come beat us 3 times in 12 days and not be a better team than us. But I think the context of understanding like what this means for the Spurs right now, where their team is currently at, to where the Thunder are currently at, matters. And what I mean by that is I think the Thunder have some chemistry problems. You've had Isaiah Hartenstein out quite a few games this year. You've had J-Dub out. You've had Lou Dort out. You've had Aaron Wiggins out. Kenrich has just recently come back. And not having a lot of these guys there the whole season, I think, has created quite a few chemistry issues with guys bouncing in and out of the lineup. The Thunder really need J-Dub and iHeart and Lou Dort and SGA and Chet to play, a good half the season together before we can really start to make some definitive points about where this team is currently at. I think a lot of people forget, J-Dub was out a significantly long period of time after having that wrist surgery, and it still at times does not look like he's 100% there. Like he's still maybe rehabbing and recovering a little bit, almost like it's sore. And so I really just want Thunder fans to pump the brakes a little bit and use caution to, overreacting. Now, does that mean that while J-Dub or some of these other guys are working their way back into the lineup, they should be on the bench? That's kind of what I felt Oklahoma City should have done to begin with. And that might sound absolutely crazy, but it's worked for the Spurs, right? They had chemistry with the starting lineup and said, instead of integrating Victor into the starting lineup, we're going to bring him off the bench. We're going to let the starting lineup start the game, and we'll integrate Victor throughout the game. And honestly, I think that was a brilliant move. And I think more teams should look at that. Instead of integrating your stars immediately back, let them slowly get integrated back in, especially if they're coming off a major surgery or a long endowment of time period of being out. I think that stuff matters. So for Oklahoma City fans, I definitely don't think you should panic, and I don't think we should be overreacting just yet. I'm really curious to see what the Oklahoma City do come out January 13th. Like, do they come out with a different fire? Have they game planned a little differently? And quite honestly, the Thunder just haven't shot well, right? If you shoot better, you probably win at least one of these games, maybe two of them. And I think that matters because Victor has been able to play in the paint, and he doesn't have to come out, and he can play on OKC's worst shooter. And he knows it. And so for the Oklahoma City Thunder, I feel like, if you're shooting a little bit better, if you don't have Caruso going, 2 of 12, I think you have a little bit more opportunity to win those games. So the other thing is opportunity style and matchups. So San Antonio's pace, spacing, and defensive schemes have consistently bothered OKC's rhythm, and their ball movement and shooting efficiency have just been disruptive, which it's hilarious that the Spurs are doing what they've done really well for the past 2 decades, because it's the system. The system works. It never fails. It always comes back. And so it's not because Oklahoma City suddenly forgot how to play basketball, but it's because the Spurs style presents tough matchup problems. And I think they have taken an element away from Shea and being able to get to the basket because of Victor that makes him a little bit more uncomfortable throughout the game. And it just kind of, I feel like, throws the team off a little bit, which kind of alludes to the shooting. Now, I will say this. The Thunder are still elite overall, but we need to see the Thunder get back to some of that elite defense. So despite the losses, they still have the league's best record, and they have the best record in the West, and they remain title contenders. A few losses, even against the Spurs. It doesn't change the bigger picture, but for the Thunder, I think, to establish themselves over the Spurs, and once again, I think they really need to get back to playing that defense that they were playing at the beginning of the year, where we were talking about, hey, like, this is going to be one of the best defenses in all of NBA history, right? And so just kind of recap it, right? They took the Christmas Day game behind Fox and Wembanyama and Castle. I don't believe a young core like that is going to play like that throughout the entire playoffs. Victor, when he gets integrated into the lineup and teams get a little bit more film and case studies of what this team is actually going to do, I feel like when you get to the playoffs and 7-game series, and I think it's just going to matter a little differently. And I think they're going to be able to see a lot of different things. And, I just don't think the Spurs are ready for that moment, especially against a championship team like Oklahoma City. But hey, like at this point, I don't think it's something to overreact about. I don't think it's time to hit the panic button. But for the Thunder players internally, I do think it's time for them to smell the roses and see where this is all at currently. And they got to figure out a way to slow the Spurs down. They got to figure out how to get some rhythm, shoot a little better. And then ultimately, I think they're going to be able to catch their feet again and maybe have a chance at a 73-9 record. It's obviously going to be a little harder now. Losing to the Spurs 3 times in a row was not ideal, but hey, what can you do, right? This stuff happens. We've seen championship teams fault like this before. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you've got to figure out a way to bounce back, and I think the Oklahoma City Thunder will bounce back. They haven't showed us they won't, and until they show us they won't, I'm going to believe that they will. So jump in the comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you're new to the channel and you've made it this far, make sure you hit that like and hit that subscribe button.